Europe in the late 1800s and the early 1900s went through plenty of industrial and social change. Some of the most profound changes were advancements in weaponry and the vast amount of people who participated in warfare. This combination came to its climax during World War I, which included countless deaths affecting everyone throughout Europe. Kathy Kollwitz and Otto Dix masterfully illustrate the devastating effects of war. Kathy Kollwitz was born in 1867 and died in 1945. She was born in East Prussia and died in Dresden, Germany. She was an advocate for victims of social injustice, war, and inhumanity. She became a communist and rose to become the head of the Master's Studio and head of the Academy of Arts in Prussia. Unfortunately, she had to resign when the Nazis took power. Kollwitz's last great portfolios and pictures portrayed the tragic war with dramatic and melancholic techniques. Otto Dix was born in 1891 in Untermauer, Germany, and was introduced to art from his cousin at a very young age. Like all great artists, he always had a talent for it. Dix was recruited to go to war after finishing art school. Upon return, he painted many famous paintings regarding the tragic war. While the artists both had the intention of showing the tragedy that war causes, Kollwitz does it in a very simplistic way. She uses black as her main color and leaves the background goldish brown so that the painting gets an essence of old age and misery. Dix, on the other hand, has made a piece of art with many details in order to push forth his message. He uses gloomy colors like gray, black, dark red to paint his picture. His painting depicts soldiers entering the war on one side and their death and tragic conclusions on the other side. Kathy Kollwitz focused on showing the sorrows of the ones left behind in war and the grief and fears that women had to face alone during the war. She does this in her Widow I painting. The painting is drawn with a fine tip, something almost like a pen to give the widow all the details she needs. Her eyes are covered in tears and her head is tilted in a way that shows her being upset. She needs a shoulder to cry on, but her son or husband is in the war. There is a resemblance between Kollwitz's Widow I and Evelyn de Morgan's The Field of the Slain. Both women artists who made tragic pieces of art in order to depict the outcome of war on society. De Morgan painted an angel dressed in black coming down and collecting souls from the battlefield where many lay unconscious. This is a triptych depicting the soldiers marching into war, dying and then being buried. It is a cycle of events that happens in war. Triptychs were very popular in medieval times and they were usually used to make altarpieces which were the focal point of worship in temples. The center of the triptych depicts a scene of destruction, carnage, and dead soldiers piled up. On the left it shows soldiers marching towards the front, and on the right there are two soldiers making their way back. On the bottom there is a picture of buried soldiers underground. Dix depicted a war scene with every aspect that comes with it. Like the war triptych, Gas by Sargent is a painting that shows the aftermath of war. This, also being an old painting, shows a large line of soldiers all wounded and getting directed by a medical orderly. Each soldier is holding onto the shoulder of the man in front of him because their vision is taking damage. This is a sad yet hopeful painting because the soldiers get to go home. These paintings both show the tragedies of war in different ways. The one depicts the pain and grief that women and families have to endure while the men are fighting at war, and the other one shows the tragedy and death caused by war.